Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right. Hey, another beautiful day. Man, very beautiful day, in fact. Very sunny, vibrant day. It's truly been beautiful. All right, so thank you all yet again chiming in. And I think this is a very important video, right? So I wanted to not hesitate. I actually got a little bit of inspiration come to me early in the day about this video, and certainly very important, right? And we're going to call this Lonely, You're Never Really Alone, right? And that's the truth. But first of all, I want to reach out there to all my folks, particularly, first of all, in this day and age, in this time, with so much going on, right? And so much that is causing a lot of folks to feel very down, depressed even, right? And a lot of people feel very, very lonely and cut off. In particular, a lot of folks who are going through their own spiritual awakening and finding themselves in a position or a circumstance that is causing them to question quite a great deal about their own lives, right? About their existence, and about everything in their lives and everything around them, everyone around them often, right? It's a very difficult process that can be one that is very emotionally taxing, right? Well, I mean, that's understandable, right? Particularly when you're talking about someone who's going through a spiritual awakening and someone who is finding themselves becoming aware of a lot of things that that they have maybe or perhaps believed to be true. Their understanding is now not, and some things that they thought weren't true, weren't possible, or didn't exist do, right? Right now, it's understandable for anyone to feel unsettled, right? Because there's quite a bit of discovery to be made that its very nature challenges virtually everything that we've been taught, right? So if you are in a situation or circumstance that causes your every assumption, your everything that you thought you knew, right? Everything you were taught, everything you believe to be true, in many instances, everything you love, right? You could find it to be a lie, right? That's very painful, and I understand that. I've gone through that, right? Know what that looks like and feels like. But you got to keep going, right? You find, if you do keep going, that it is in fact a journey. You find, if you do keep going, that it does lead to a place that feels so much better, right? It does lead you to your own personal evolution, right? And you gain so much in the form of spiritual maturity, of enlightenment, right? Of a sense of really having the ability for you to determine what gives you solid standing, right? Rather than relying on external input for you to determine what makes your foundation. What is your foundation of reality, of existence? What is your square? As we always used to say. I know my 5% family, right? Going to nod in again. You know, we always used to say, never let anything or anyone knock you off your square, right? And that just means your foundation is your square upon which you build, right? And all of that expands as the result of this process of awakening, right? Exponentially. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. So a couple of things I want to point out to you folks that are lonely and that are experiencing any difficult symptom of the spiritual awakening, of this enlightenment, right? Getting out of the Maya, of escaping the matrix, however you want to term this process, right? Number one, you are not alone. First of all, there are millions of people on this planet right now going through this process, right? And that's a beautiful thing in itself. Also, the more and the deeper you go into this awakening and this awareness, the more you understand that you never were alone, right? You really not are just saying the words, but you really understand, you cognize. And to cognize something means that you understand it and believe something to a level that no longer requires physical evidence, right? Okay, an example of what I mean. When you're little and your parents want to teach you 1 + 1 is 2, what do? They often get something, 2 rocks, 2 pennies, 2 marbles, right? And they'll have 1, and I have a separate one. They'll have you point to one, say 1. Yeah, see, this one's 1. And they'll push them together, and then they'll have you count again. 1, 2, right? And you start to understand. Until eventually, rather quickly, you just know it. You know that 1 + 1 is 2. To the point you don't need to see any evidence of it. No one could even convince you otherwise. You know it. You've absorbed it into your bank of understanding, of knowing, right? You have cognized it. You've seen the evidence, processed the evidence, and don't require evidence anymore. All right? Excuse me. That's at least one way of looking at what it is to cognize a concept or a certain bit of information, right? But when you really cognize and understand the fact that all things are in fact connected and all things do emanate from one source. Now, what is so interesting is that even just the other day, pardon me, I don't recall the name of the scientist in the video, but the gentleman was talking about what has been very exciting in the mainstream world of science, right, is that there are being discoveries made that challenge all of the Newtonian laws of physics, right? There are experiments that prove quantum entanglement, which is that all particles, all things are in fact not only emanating from one source, but remain connected energetically, right? Regardless of time or space. But I'm not going to get off into a whole scientific conversation, but you will even beyond just the science of it, begin to cognize it, feel it, and know that all things are in fact connected. And with that understanding, with that feeling, with that knowing, right? You view things, you view life so much differently, right? You view nature so much differently. You feel, You feel nature. When you go outside, when you go into a park, you take a walk through a trail or something of that nature, you literally feel nature. And you feel how alive you are and how you are a part of all of creation. And all of that is a part of you, right? You truly understand that you are one with creation. And you feel it. That's the important thing. See, folks, as human beings, and I've always been scientifically inclined, right? That's just my background. But, I had to also get to a point where I understood that it's not all about intellect. See, intellect can easily be swayed, we'll say, by ego, right? And intellect has its limits. Intellect doesn't always serve you very well when it comes to spirituality. It can help serve as a framework, right? Or an anchor that you can always use. But it's not going to be your journey. You have to feel, right? To explore your spirituality, you have to feel, right? And when you cognize the fact that you are not alone and that we all are emanating of the same energy and still connected at an energetic level, then you really know it and you understand you're not alone and never have been, right? And then, perhaps in the most important way, right? Folks, I know there are people out there who are atheists or of a belief that does not encapsulate or doesn't accept or allow for a higher power. But even those folks tend to be very scientifically dependent, which helps me because I can talk to you about science and I can tell you that unequivocally there are things that for anyone who is open-minded, right? And science is all about being open-minded. It's the basis of science, is to be open-minded, open to discovery, understanding and realizing that with every question we ask, it only leads to more questions, which is a beautiful process because we learn and continue to learn, right? So, folks who lean heavily on the scientific side of things, and many of them who would consider themselves to be atheists, right? Or something along those lines, not having any sort of a belief in a higher power, right? Well, let's challenge that a bit. Because everything, when we start to think of the word origin, right, has to be considered in a little bit different light. So if we're considering origin, then we need to think of where things come from. Where does everything come from, right? How did our universe or our multiverse come into being? And we then understand, well, even in the Big Bang Theory, there was always that initial spark. There was always that initial particle, right? Because science tells you nothing from nothing gets you nothing, right? You do not begin any scientific, mainstream scientific theory with the thought that you get something from nothing, right? So there always had to be some source, something energetically that always was and always will be, right? So if you need to break it down and look at it that way, to accept that there is some source, some common birthplace or some common place of origin that all life, all existence springs from, then you see the commonality to which I refer, right? We all spring from some common source. Now, if you need to look at it that way in order to grasp some concept of the Creator, fine. Do that, right? But understand, no matter how you look at it, we are never separated energetically from the source of our origination, right? So, you are never alone. And beyond that, folks, when you open up your heart and you understand and cognize this beyond your intellect, beyond your ego, then you really understand that not only are you always connected to source, but you feel this source loves you, right? You feel that. And I even have another video where I talked about the fact that love is, in essence, the basis of all life, right? Because without cohesion, without the energy of bonding, right, of coming together, you have no life, no creation, right? And the energy of bonding, or the energy of coming together, is that same old 1 + 1 = 2. And that's just the basis of math, right? And it's all the same thing. It's bonding, it's coming together, it's adding, it's multiplying, right? All of that is love. Because without the energy of coming together, you have nothing. And that energy of coming together is love. So, just the fact that you exist and look around at so much creation, you're not alone. Because it's love everywhere, all around you. And there's love for you too. And your source, your Creator, is everywhere, all around you. And your Creator loves you too, right? That love, that connection, that bond, energetically at least, never dissipates. Spiritually, never dissipates, right? So, you are a lot more connected than you think. Though those around you and what you've gotten comfortable with and what you've grown to accept in your life may not be what you thought it to be, may have let you down, may have hurt you, right? May have betrayed you. Those in your circle who you've come to love and trust. But that doesn't mean love is gone, that there is no love. That does not mean there's no one you can trust, right? You can always trust in your Creator. And folks, I'm here to tell you there's plenty of good folks out there, right? We just need to understand that and do what? Come together, right? That's love. So you're not alone. Listen, if nothing else, I love you. Huh? That's the truth. I love you. If no one else does. But like I said, the more you understand, cognize, and get to grasp and know our Creators, our higher power, our source's love, you'll never need for love again. You'll never feel lonely again. And you will realize and understand that we are all connected. We are all energetically connected. And now that science has even verified this, it's undeniable, right? It is undeniable. And rather than denying it, embrace it and let it give you comfort in knowing that you are, in fact, never alone. Right, dear ones? Right? My precious people out there, my folks who are going to aid and going to help bring about, oh, it's already here. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq. I'm out. Thank you. I love you all. I'm out.